Good evening, everyone. For those I haven't had the opportunity to meet, my name is Doug McGee, and in my role as the Warden of Convocation, I'll be chairing our proceedings this evening. This is our first ever Zoom webinar ordinary meeting, responding to the COVID-19 circumstance. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Most of you who have been to an ordinary meeting before would be familiar with the process. All questions from the floor are registered before the meeting with the Warden via the Convocation Officer, and we're keeping this process. If you have questions during this meeting, you may enter it on the chat section. I won't be able to answer those questions during tonight's meeting. However, your questions will be saved and will be addressed at a later date, either by return email or will be posted on our website at convocation.uwa.edu.au/events/meetings. To enable the chat feature, please move your cursor to the toolbar at the bottom of the screen and click on the chat icon. In order to confirm our meeting minutes, a poll will be enabled for you to register your votes. You'll receive instructions on how to register your votes at the time polling is required. Welcome to everyone for this first ever online Convocation ordinary meeting. We are pleased to welcome those who are now able to join us from regional WA, from interstate and overseas, including Switzerland. I'd particularly like to welcome the Chancellor, the Hon. Robert French, AC, Guild President, Ms. Bree Shanahan, Senior Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Professor Simon Biggs, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Global Partnerships, Mr. Taib Shah, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Education, Professor David Sadler. It's great that you have been able to join us this evening. The University of Western Australia acknowledges the custodians and traditional owners of land on which any of its campuses are located. At the main campus, Crawley, the university acknowledges the Whadjuk Noongar people as the traditional owners of the land on which it is situated. The Whadjuk Noongar remain the spiritual and cultural custodians of their land and continue to practice their values, languages, beliefs, and knowledge. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I now formally declare the meeting open at 6:35 p.m. and note that I have apologies from Deputy Vice-Chancellor Research, Professor Tim Colmer. And for this postponed meeting, I have 46 other apologies, but for the postponed March meeting, more than 600 members sent their apologies. If anyone wishes to convey any additional apologies, could they please provide these to the Convocation Officer, Ms. Juanita Perez, at convocation@uwa.edu.au, who will record their details. Thank you. I now move to item 3 on the meeting agenda, the minutes of the spring ordinary meeting held on Friday, the 20th September 2019, which are enclosed in the agenda booklet for this meeting. The agenda booklet can be found on our Convocation website at convocation.uwa.edu.au/ordinary meetings. No requests to amend the minutes have been received. As required under item 4, I have a motion from someone who attended the spring ordinary meeting last year to move acceptance of the minutes. Clinical Professor Leslie Carla. Thank you. And someone who has seconded that motion, Dr. David Griffiths. Thank you. I'll now ask you to indicate your approval for confirmation of the minutes by poll. Please wait for the instructions to appear on your screen. Thank you. I can see that that is carried unanimously. You may now close the poll box to continue with the meeting. Moving to item 5 on the agenda, business arising from the minutes of the last ordinary meeting, the webinar does not easily allow discussion, so I ask that any member with such business forwards it to the Convocation Officer by email at the email address I gave earlier. We have continued to make the agenda papers available online, and a link to this documentation was provided in the email reminder sent out earlier this week. I hope that you found this useful. We continued with the popular Q&A session for this meeting and have posted that online. Our next item of business for this evening is item 6, correspondence. Convocation receives much correspondence on many matters, both as emails and letters, and they are largely addressed by our Convocation Officer and me as Warden. I wish to thank all the members of Convocation who took the time to contact me and Convocation Council in that period, as we value members' views on issues confronting Convocation. I'll highlight a recent item that illustrates the role of Convocation. In our recent Convocation Connection, we reported that in the COVID-19 environment, the University of Western Australia has consistently been excellent in its messages of support and standards for its staff and students. An astute member responded that this comment about the university by the university might be interpreted as, in inverted commas, an almost Trumpian level of self-congratulation, certainly nothing to which we aspire. However, our original comment represents an important role of Convocation as a critic and supporter of the executive, staff and students of the university. This has been recently extended to Council forming its own task force to address the needs of students in particular, but also other graduates in this challenging time. Join with us in that work. The next item on our agenda is to announce the outcome of the recent elections conducted by Convocation. Each year, elections are held for the position of Warden, Deputy Warden, and 7 members of the 21-member Council of Convocation. This year, elections were held for the Warden of Convocation for a 1-year term, the Deputy Warden of Convocation for a 1-year term, and 8 members of the Council of Convocation, 7 of these for 3-year terms, and 1 for a 1-year term resulting from a council member's resignation due to changing work commitments. To ensure the utmost probity in the conduct of these elections, in 2013, Convocation Council decided to outsource the conduct of these elections. This year, Convocation Council continued with the appointment of the Western Australian Electoral Commission to undertake the election process. And this year, the number of nominees determined that no election was necessary, a very useful saving of expense in this year. The results will be shown on your screen. The Warden and Deputy Warden are elected for 1-year terms, and each member of Council is elected for a 3-year term. Clinical Professor Leslie Carla nominated for Warden, and the position was not contested. So I'm pleased to announce that the Warden of Convocation for 2020 will be Clinical Professor Leslie Carla. Similarly, the position of Deputy Warden was not contested, and I can declare Adjunct Professor Dr. Brett Davies elected unopposed as the Deputy Warden of Convocation for a 1-year term. Now to the elections for Convocation Council. Normally, there are elections for 7 positions on Council each year as 7 councillors complete their terms. This year, the election was for 8 members of Council, as I mentioned, 7 for a 3-year term and 1 for a 1-year term. Some councillors did not renominate and others did. We had 5 nominations for the 8 positions, so I can declare them all elected unopposed for a 3-year term. The following candidates have been confirmed as members of Convocation Council, each for a 3-year term. Dr. Angela Evangelina Giannakis, Dr. David Griffiths, Mr. Jeff Gunningham, Adjunct Professor Warren Kerr AM, and Dr. Nin Kirkham. We thus have 3 casual vacancies, and nominations are called for those through the Convocation Officer. Terms on council for positions filled by casual vacancy will be completed at the conclusion of the autumn ordinary meeting in the following year, in this case in 2021. The incumbent may re-nominate for a position on Convocation Council. Nomination forms can be found at the Convocation website, www.convocation.uwa.edu.au/elections2/elections2020. Nominations will close at close of business next Friday, May the 1st. The successful nominees will be determined by a vote of council. I will assume the position of immediate past warden for the next year. I extend my congratulations to those who have been elected this evening. I also wish to pay tribute to the following members of Convocation Council who now have completed their terms. These include Dr. Julie Cruz, Dr. Tim Diamond, Mr. Gary Pennyfather, and Mr. Tony Tate, AM. We shall miss their input and their wisdom. On behalf of Convocation Council, I wish to express our thanks for their contribution over the time they have been on Council. To Julie Cruz, who contributed her great knowledge of and commitment to convocation and university systems. To Gary Pennyfather, who has been very active with the issue of engagement. To Tony Tate, who brought a wealth of experience and knowledge of university and education systems and has fought for stronger recognition of our graduates. And to Tim Diamond, who brought strong views on engagement and governance to Council. On your behalf, I thank these retiring councillors for their service to Convocation. Item 8 is the Vice-Chancellor's report. This is included in the agenda booklet, and the live report by Vice-Chancellor Professor Jane Den Hollander has been posted online. The Guild President's report is item 9 on our agenda. This is included in the agenda booklet, and the live report by Guild President Ms. Bree Shanahan has been posted online. Item 10 on our agenda is the Warden's report. This is also included in the agenda booklet, and my live report has been posted online. I make only brief comment here as I stand down at the conclusion of this meeting. I have focused on a greater visibility for Convocation and our graduates, and am comfortable that real progress has been made. To highlight, a few are the increasing success of Convocation Day, the development of the Convocation Avenue through Convocation Day, Convocation sponsoring an open day for the Forest Research Foundation, the placement of the Convocation screen at the University Club showcasing our events and activities, and a full page allocated to Convocation in each University Club magazine. And as you've just seen, the change to flag policy that allows Convocation to fly its flag around key events, happening for the first time today and videoed by me. I have to note that a few running repairs were required, as I had to add a few cable ties to the bottom of the flag so it could fly squarely. I was very happy and proud to see it there today. Also, the development of a new exciting logo for Convocation and the associated challenge to being able to use it. The inclusion of Convocation in each welcome ceremony. Continued contributions by Convocation to UniView. The establishment of Convocation Connection as a communication vehicle for Convocation, not hidden within others. Now it's up to the new council to build on that foundation. With the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Jane Den Hollander's strong current leadership, and new Vice-Chancellor, Professor Amit Chakma, beginning later this year, the opportunity is real. The special challenge presented by COVID-19 is to bring all 4 parts of the university, Senate, staff, students, and Convocation, into a closer embrace. Before concluding, I draw your attention to the annual reunion luncheon for graduates who celebrate the 50th anniversary of their graduation from UWA. This year, those from 1970. The function goes from strength to strength each year, with an excellent 2019 reunion for the graduates of 1969 held last year. We have listed those with whom we've lost contact on page 46 of the agenda booklet. If you know the whereabouts of any of the graduates listed, please forward this information to the Convocation Officer. While some uncertainties remain, this year the reunion luncheon will be held in Winthrop Hall at noon on Saturday the 21st of November 2020, so please mark this in your diary. All graduates of 1970 for whom we have contact details will receive an invitation. Graduates and friends who have attended previous luncheons are also most welcome to join the celebrations. The next item of this first ordinary meeting is the Convocation Officer's Report, which is contained on pages 41 to 45 of the agenda booklet. The report is required of the UWA statutes and simply contains a list of graduates whose whereabouts have become unknown since our last ordinary meeting in September last year. To assist you to quickly locate colleagues and friends, we have sorted this list by faculty and year of graduation to hopefully help you check if there's anyone you may know. Please have a look at that list, and if you do know the whereabouts of any of those included, I'd ask you again to contact Juanita Perez, the Convocation Officer. Thank you. One big impact of COVID-19 is that we could not have a guest speaker for this meeting. Originally, we had programmed Professor Tom Calma, AO, Chancellor of Canberra University, to speak, and he generated great interest. We'll examine the possibility for him to speak at another meeting. Questions on notice were received, and the answers have been posted online, so please look through those at your convenience. This marks the conclusion of my term as the Warden of Convocation. It remains for me to thank all my colleagues on Convocation Council for the support they have given me over the past 3 years. It has been a pleasure and a privilege to undertake the role of Warden and to contribute to the University in this manner. However, none of this would have been possible without the wonderful assistance provided by our diligent, diplomatic, hard-working Convocation Officer, Juanita Perez, and in the last 2 years, her assistants, Ms. Melissa Hetherington and Mr. Chris Bather. I'd like to thank all three, but particularly Juanita, for all her advice and guidance over the past years and for coordinating the arrangements for this ordinary meeting. I'd also like to thank the university teams who helped to organise this meeting, especially Ms. Harriet Calverley and Ms. Shannon Owens-Dyer. Harriet has really been quite amazing in recent days and weeks. While not online with us tonight, Manny Tomeo Photography provides wonderful services for all Convocation events. Manny is an MBA graduate of UWA and provides all the photography for Convocation events at mates rates as his contribution to Convocation. Now, I'm delighted to be able to welcome a special guest, Chancellor of the University of Western Australia, the Hon. Robert French AC, to say a few words.
Thanks very much, Doug. This is a most unusual ordinary meeting. As you can see, I'm sitting at home in my study with a set of the Commonwealth Law Reports behind me to enhance my authority in my remarks. May I begin by congratulating all those who have been elected as officers and members of the Convocation Council, and particularly, of course, to Leslie Kaler and Brett Davies as incoming Warden and Deputy Warden. There's a wonderful photograph of Doug McGee on the UWA website. I think it's sometime in October 2018 under the headline, Charity Ride Close to Doug's Heart. It shows Doug in academic regalia on a bicycle doing laps around the campus to ready himself for the Perkins Institute 200-kilometre ride to conquer cancer, a 2-day round trip between Perth and Mandurah to raise funds for research into cancer, motor neurone disease and youth mental health. I noted in the photograph that Doug, at least in the first of them, wasn't wearing a helmet, and I wondered about the legality of riding around campus without a helmet, and that would no doubt require a close examination of our statutes and regulations and whether or not we were public property for the purposes of the Police Act or whatever it is that governs the requirement to wear helmets. Doug issued a challenge at that time, as reported in UWA News, to everyone to support him in helping to raise awareness and lessen the human impact of those conditions for which he was raising funds. He did not miss an opportunity in that article to continue his relentless promotion of convocation. As he said, with over 100 years of graduations, Convocation has well over 100,000 members. Can they help me to raise more than $50,000, just 50 cents each, to support important research into cancer, motor neurone disease and youth mental health? The picture and the story that accompanied it exemplified Doug McGee as a man prepared to go the extra kilometre in the service of the community, and particularly, as we acknowledge tonight, in the service of Convocation and the university of which it is a part. Convocation provides a strong point of connection between the university and its alumni, and strengthening that connection, not least into the younger demographic, is an ongoing challenge which Convocation and Doug, as its leader in recent times, has continued to address. He has served for 7 years on the Convocation Council and 3 years as warden. In both of those roles are demanding, time-consuming, and sometimes thankless. As Chancellor of the University, I want to thank Doug for his service as warden. We've had many conversations over the last 2 years, and I have always found him a pleasure to deal with. Frank, intelligent, courteous, utterly committed to UWA, and of course to Convocation, but to Convocation in the service of the university of which it is part, and not simply as an institution in its own right. It's people like Doug who we need more than ever at this time in the life of the university. We have seen some radical impacts on and changes to our way of operating just over the past few weeks. Under the leadership of Jane Den Hollander as interim Vice-Chancellor, there have been some extraordinary responses by staff and the student body. I've come across a new bureaucratic description for this kind of response, which we might call, in ordinary terms, above and beyond the call of duty, and that description is discretionary effort. Well, Doug has been giving UWA discretionary effort in spades, particularly over the past 3 years. I want to thank him for it, and I want to wish him well. And I'm glad that he will continue his connection with Convocation and the Convocation Council as immediate past warden, and that the council will have the benefit of his wisdom and experience so that he doesn't retire into the cupboard as a disused feather duster. So congratulations, Doug, and many thanks for your service.
Thanks so much, Chancellor. Thanks, Bob, for your support and valuable guidance over the last 2 years. I'd also like to record a personal thanks to our Deputy Vice-Chancellors for the increasingly strong relationship with Convocation. Finally, as I have done on the recorded report, I express deep thanks to my wife, Jill, for the support she's given to me over the 7 years on council, with the last 3 years as warden. With that, I declare the first ordinary meeting of Convocation for 2020 closed at 6:57 p.m. Thank you.